Hola muchachos, welcome to the video. Today we are going to be talking all about getting shredded, and I'm going to share what I personally did to go from this to this in a surprisingly enjoyable way. So check it out guys. From my experience, I would say that the number one thing that stops a lot of us from getting as lean as we would like is a lack of adherence. A plan you can stick to is a plan that works. And to be honest, most fat loss plans freaking suck. They usually require way too much willpower, and they tend to be very difficult to stick to in the long run. The only way you can truly guarantee fat loss success is if you create a plan that is absolutely enjoyable and is actually easy to stick to. So first, we need to go over some basics. For you to lose fat, you need to be in something called a caloric deficit. Simply put, you need to be consuming less calories than you burn every single day on average. So to create a deficit, you can 1. Eat less, 2. Increase activity, 3. Do a combination of the two. So first, I'm going to talk about nutrition because in my opinion, nutrition is about 70 to 80% of the game. I personally think it is way easier for you to eat less than it is for you to burn extra calories every single day. Before we can create the perfect nutrition plan, the first thing we need to do is figure out how many calories we burn per day. Now, you can figure out this number by going to this website, punching in your info. Boom! You now have a ballpark figure of how many calories you burn per day. For you to lose weight, you simply need to eat less than this. On average, there's about 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. This means if you reduce your food intake by 500 calories below your maintenance, you're gonna lose about 1 pound per week. But at this point, some of you guys might be thinking that if you have bigger deficits, that means you're gonna get your results faster. Doesn't really work that way. When it comes to getting lean, you need to achieve two things. You need to 1. Lose fat, but you also need to maintain as much muscle as possible. And sadly, very big calorie deficits, they put you at greater risk for muscle loss. So that is not what we want guys. We want to have a lean, sexy, muscular physique. So to achieve this, it is smart to aim for about 1 to 1.5 pounds of weight loss per week. This is fast enough for you to lose fat and also slow enough for you to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. Then, once you now know how many calories you need per day to lose weight, you now need to figure out your macros, your protein, carbs, and fats. So first, we will start with protein because protein is one of the most important macronutrients there is when it comes to fat loss. Higher protein intakes are better for muscle mass retention while you're in a deficit. And also, protein is a very satiating macronutrient. That means the higher your intake of protein on a diet, usually the less hunger you will experience. So for protein, you want to aim for about 1 gram per pound of lean body mass every single day. Then, when you figure out your protein, all we need to do is fill out the rest of our calories with carbs and fats, and how much of whichever macro you use is all dependent on you. So for example, me personally, I love carbs. I'm Nigerian. I love my jollof rice. So I tend to eat more carbs and less fats when I'm dieting. But if you're watching this and you're currently doing something like keto, you might do a lot more fat and a lot less carbs. You want to pick whatever carb and fat ratio that works best with you and your taste buds because that way you're more likely to stick to your diet. And also, research has shown that when it comes to fat intake, a mixed diet and keto diets see very similar results when it comes to fat loss as long as caloric intake is the same. So at this point, you now know how many calories you need, protein, carbs, and fat. But guys, this is just numbers, right? You could fill this stuff out by just eating chicken, rice, and broccoli every single day, every single meal. Man, this diet freaking blows. Much better. I have nothing against eating clean, but honestly, eating clean all the time is pretty damn boring. And if you're bored, you're probably gonna cheat on your diet and you're gonna quit. So we need to find a way of making the diet as enjoyable as possible. And this is where Pareto's principle comes into play. Pareto's principle simply states that if you do the right thing 80% of the time, the other 20% where you mess up, it doesn't matter. This means that you should eat healthy and clean 80% of the time, but you should also allow yourself 20% of the time to be able to eat junk and things that you absolutely enjoy. Andrea, that movie was amazing, but this right here is gonna be delicioso.
Oh my god. But how can you eat this? I thought you were dieting.
Of course I'm dieting. 80-20. Pareto's principle is amazing because it allows you to still see results because you're going to be maintaining your deficit, but it also allows you flexibility to still eat like a regular human being. But even though in my opinion, Pareto's principle is pretty amazing, you're still in a deficit, and being in a deficit sucks. One thing you can also do to make things easier for you is to use cheat days. So I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this video are very familiar with cheat days. This is simply a day when you eat more than usual when you're on a diet. Now, cheat days are absolutely amazing because they help you so much psychologically and they give you a break from the diet. But unfortunately, if you do them wrong, you can totally mess things up. So at this point in the video, I am gonna get out my glasses because your boy is getting kind of old. I am 30, you know. And I'm gonna read from the sheets so I can stay on track. So let's say you maintain your body weight at 2,800 calories a day. You then decide to go on a diet and consume 2,300 calories a day. You're able to stick to this diet for 6 days. So at this point, you've now accumulated a deficit of 3,000 calories. But on the 7th day, you wake up and you're like,
ah man, I'm hungry. I'm craving all kinds of stuff, man. You know what? I do deserve a cheat day. I have been working pretty hard.
So you now decide to go to town, man. You getting pizza, donuts, ice cream. You have the whole 9. And on that day, you then consume 5,000 calories. Now at first, you think, no big deal, right? It is a cheat day. But if you look closely, on that day, you got in a 2,200 calorie surplus. But that entire week, you only accumulated an 800 calorie deficit. This means for an entire week of dieting, you only lost 0.23 pounds. Muchachos, I don't know about you, but that is BS, man. So you're telling me that you worked so hard for an entire week, and after just one cheat day, you only lost less than a quarter of a pound? Now, this is actually a very common scenario with a lot of people that use cheat days in their approach. It doesn't mean cheat days are not useful, but it does mean we do need to give ourselves some limitations. So first, you want to have a maximum of only one cheat day per week because any more than this is totally unnecessary. And then secondly, you want to put a limit of how many calories you consume on that day. Only aim for maintenance or at most 300 calories above maintenance. This will allow you to enjoy yourself and get out some of those pesky cravings and still allow you to maintain a huge chunk of your weekly deficit. That way, all that hard work doesn't go to waste. So while we're on the topic of taking breaks from your diet, another great strategy is using full-on diet breaks. So a diet break is very similar to a cheat day, but it's a lot longer. So usually during this time, you bring your calories back up to maintenance or very slightly above for 1 to 2 weeks. Diet breaks are super useful because one, they help you reset mentally. Because guys, even when you use cheat days, being in a deficit for a prolonged period of time, it freaking sucks. Your body will start to fight you. In fact, research has shown that dieters that use diet breaks into their plan, they actually notice more fat loss, better muscle mass retention, and higher metabolic rates at the end of the diets when compared to people that just dieted all the way straight through. So to give you guys some guidelines, you should take a diet break for 1 to 2 weeks after a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks of dieting. So at this point, we are done talking about the nutrition side of things. Now we need to talk about working out. A common mistake that I see a lot of people make when they're trying to lose fat is during their workouts, they do way too much cardio. So at first glance, cardio may seem very useful, but if you do too much, it can hurt you in the long run because cardio does not stimulate muscle growth. When it comes to dieting down, maintaining muscle should be your number one priority. Let your nutrition burn all the fat and let your working out maintain the muscle mass. Also, I highly suggest you use a training protocol that you absolutely enjoy. So for example, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you guys know that I love training with gymnastic rings as well as calisthenic movements. Now, because I train with a style that I enjoy, when I'm in a deficit, I am less likely to skip workouts. And the less workouts you skip, the more muscle you're going to stimulate and the more muscle you're going to maintain. Another thing that's super important for your training while in a deficit is intensity. Muchachos, just because you're in a deficit doesn't mean you need to train with lighter weights or do less load. No. In fact, it's the absolute opposite. You see, you're able to build muscle through muscular tension. You need to maintain that tension during your cuts because if you start getting weaker, you are going to lose muscle mass. So during your cuts, try as much as you can to keep your intensity as high as possible. Now, a lot of people will say that when they go on a diet, they get weaker. But what's actually funny is a lot of it is mental. There's something called the placebo effect. So guys, if you think you're going to get weaker, you will get weaker. And if you think you're going to maintain your strength, you're going to have a better chance of doing so. So make sure when you go into the gym, you're going with the right mindset. Alright muchachos, so at this point in the video, we have now talked about nutrition as well as our workouts when it comes to losing fat. But I also have to say, there's another great tool that can help speed up the process, and that is cardio. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I'm not really a huge fan of cardio. But honestly, it does help, man. It is a pretty good tool because when you do cardio, you do increase the caloric out aspect of the calories in, calories out equation. This means you can actually eat slightly more food and lose the same amount of fat. Or if you eat the same amount of food, you lose slightly more weight. But when it comes to cardio recommendations, I am pretty loose about that stuff. I just tell my muchachos to just try and stay as active as they can and do cardio that they enjoy. So for example, the way I do my cardio is 1, ride my longboard. Yo, this is like surfing, but on land. Plus, it is great for making new friends. Okay. And 2, horizontal cardio. Are you kidding me, man? You're on the wrong website. This is YouTube, not. I find going on the treadmill, the stationary bike, boring as hell, man. And I hate to be bored, so I try and just do things that I enjoy. That way, I do them often, and that way, I burn more calories. So muchachos, that is it, man. You are now equipped with almost everything you need to know to be able to lose fat and lose it in a pretty enjoyable way. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and give this one a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what you doing, man? Go ahead and subscribe. And muchachos, muchachas, always remember this, guys. Always strive to improve, even if it's just a little, each and every single day. Kaizen. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.